Good evening. So welcome everybody to tonight's City Council meeting, October 20th, 2025. I'd like to call this meeting to order and inform the public about the location of the Open Meeting Act posted in the council chambers and accessible to members of the public. This time we'll have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Grandquist?
Here.
Arns?
Here.
Webb?
Here.
McCarthy?
Here.
Beckman?
Here.
Jensen?
Here.
Langy?
Here.
Hildebrand?
Here.
Mayor?
Here. All right, on to the public comment period, and there will be no action occurring at this time.
And we only have those the beginning of the first meeting of the month, so we'll go to number 5.
And we'll move on to number 5. At this time, I'd like approval of consent agenda.
So moved.
What? No, not tonight.
First meeting of the month.
First meeting of the month.
Yeah.
Well, it is, yes, you're right, it's on the agenda, but it states on there, it's not, no action will be taken at this time.
No, this is how it's always.
Public comment opportunities are provided during the first regular scheduled city council meeting each month. So, first one of the month, second one, we don't have it. All right.
No,
We have
so
a
we just need a second.
motion and a second, please vote on the consent agenda.
All council members voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
Okay, we'll move on to approval of the full agenda, please.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, please vote.
All council members voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
All right, special presentations this evening. Tonight, we have a proclamation for November 1st, 2025 as Extra Mile Day, and I'll go ahead and read this proclamation. Whereas the city of Norfolk, Nebraska is a community that acknowledges that a special vibrancy exists within the entire community when individual citizens collectively go the extra mile in personal effort, volunteerism, and service. And whereas the city of Norfolk, Nebraska is a community that encourages citizens to maximize their personal contribution to the community by giving of themselves wholeheartedly and with total effort, commitment, and conviction to their individual ambitions, family, friends, and community. And whereas the city of Norfolk, Nebraska is a community that chooses to shine a light on and celebrate individuals and organizations within the community who go the extra mile in order to make a difference and lift up fellow members of their community. And whereas the city of Norfolk, Nebraska acknowledges the mission of the Extra Mile America Foundation to create 550 extra mile cities and states in America, and is so proud to support Extra Mile Day on November 1st, 2025. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Shane Clausen, Mayor of the City of Norfolk, Nebraska, do hereby proclaim November 1st, 2025 as Extra Mile Day in the City of Norfolk, Nebraska, and urge each individual in our community to take time on this day to not only go the extra mile in his or her own life, but to also acknowledge all those who are inspirational in their efforts and commitment to make their organization, families, community, country, or world a better place. Is anybody here to receive this proclamation? Is anybody going to go the extra mile and come and get this? Okay. It's signed. I'll move, give it on, pass it along. All right. On to item, public hearings and related action. We're on to item number 19. I can open the public hearing at the request of Jose J. and Maria M. Who's that again? Queeler to consider a zoning change from R2 1 to 4 family residential district to C1 on a property addressed at 1815 South First Street. Val will lead us discussion during this public hearing.
Thank you. I thought it might just be easiest to bring this up. So the highlighted area is the piece of property that we're discussing. In front of the armory, it's the little yellow grocery store that's been there for a long time. And the zoning map, it is strangely enough R2, surrounded by all the residential. And it was just grandfathered in for many years. They want to do a different use than what is grandfathered in, and so that is why they are asking for a commercial district. And C1 is our lowest commercial district in intensity. And I believe the applicants are here. The discussion at Planning Commission revolved around a lot of, if they could do more of a passive, almost commercial use rather than a grocery store. It seemed like it was becoming too much work for them, and potentially wanted to do something similar to like a liquor store. And it is a permitted use in C1, and we weren't quite sure too how, if the conversation happened too, and they were asked if maybe they kept the grocery store and just added this as a use to the grocery store. We're not quite sure how the Liquor Commission would feel about that, if they would ask, it's a grandfathered in use being surrounded by residential. But they can certainly answer that. They didn't seem to want to do something like that, trying to keep that grandfathering. And they have 12 months from when the grandfathered use stops to pick it back up again. And when asked, it has been discontinued for 8 months already. So they have about 4 months to start that back up again, or like they're coming to you all to just do a zone change to commercial so that they could do whatever, fits in that C1 commercial zoning district. We did talk about that the building is what it is, but it's a small lot. And so if something were to ever happen to this building, if the zone change happened to commercial, then they would be responsible for buffer yards, and it would essentially be an unbuildable lot at that point in time. So we just wanted to get that on the record with them too, so that they understood that. If you have any questions for me, and like I said, the applicants, I believe, are here tonight.
So Val, this failed at the Planning Commission, correct?
It was a 1-6 vote, yeah.
1-6 vote. Mm-hmm. So what was the topic of discussion? Why did they feel like they should vote this down?
Some of it was the use being surrounded by residential. I mean, they asked about spot zoning, and this is about as close to spot zoning as you can get, because there really is no commercial even close to this. However, it is on a major arterial 5-lane road. So really, some of these other residentials could easily go to commercial, but they would then become non-conforming. And then also, we had a discussion too with the city engineer, and we were talking about there really is not a lot of parking, particularly if this goes away and the sidewalk goes in like it should, because then you would essentially only have parking back here. So you'd have to be very careful with what goes in there based on required parking too.
This building's been there for quite a while though, hasn't it? I mean, when was the building put in there? I saw something recently on some Norfolk page on Facebook where they pulled some of the front facade off. Do you know what it was? Was it like a sewing shop at one time?
Ceramic stuff.
Okay. So it's been there.
White granite.
Okay.
It was a butcher shop.
Okay.
Meat processing.
So it's got a history of being commercial in residential for a long time. I mean,
Right.
just to put that out there, it's not like this is something that popped up in the middle of all this housing, So, and I think with that parking on the side, just I mean, I would imagine if you did put a sidewalk in there, you would work with them about moving the sidewalk up closer to their building and then back to that back lot where you just walk through it and leave the parking where it's at. I mean, I would think that would be what would,
It didn't actually come up at
Okay.
Planning Commission for that. I believe
Right.
at staff meeting that was brought up, but we did not talk about that at Planning Commission, so that was not an option during
Okay.
that time.
okay. But that's how you could keep the parking and maintain a walk going through there. But,
When do we see sidewalks going in? They haven't had them since the existence of the building. When do we anticipate sidewalks to be going in?
Normally, if they pull a building permit, then we require the
Okay.
sidewalk to go in.
With this being commercial for so many years, is there any chance we can get a conditional use permit for this building, where it's located?
Not for a liquor store in R2, no. The lowest permitted use for a liquor store is C1, and it doesn't go into a conditional use permit in residential.
Okay.
when it comes to the liquor store though, I mean, the city, we're not gonna have any weigh in on what, if they get their permit at all. You know, we're just gonna turn that over to the state. So I mean,
With,
In an R.
right, I understand that, but I'm just saying, we don't really have a lot of say if they are a liquor store or not. We can
no.
just give the zoning, yes.
If it's a new license, then you give, the city council gives a recommendation, but we don't give a stamp of approval.
Right, and just recently have we started giving recommendations. Before that, we gave no recommendation.
Correct.
For years, so I'm just saying.
Correct.
All right, any other questions for Val? Anybody from the public want to come up and talk on this?
David Jansma. I just have one comment and/or question. If it does become a liquor store, is there any concern about being that close to the public fields over there and the water park? Is there anything against that, regulations or something like that? Mr. Webb, it's been a pleasure.
So,
I'm just curious, just offering
There's like
that. That's something-
300 feet of a school, I think, and
Yeah.
150 feet of a church
the liquor commission is the one who gives
is the only,
those
yeah.
standards. I can't speak to them off the top
Okay.
of my head right now, but
I just wanted to know if there was anything, because we all can foresee when it's a cold night at Memorial Field.
So you're saying it's a good spot or a good thing or bad thing next to the football field? All right, anybody else want to come speak upon this? I think we have the owners here this evening. Do they want to?
Mayor, Council, Gustavo, I work for HR. I'll be translating for Maria Cuellar.
Bueno. Mi nombre es María Cuellar
My name is Maria Cuellar.
y quiero que consideren pues que
I want you to consider
pues tenemos ganas de trabajar.
that we want to work.
Nos gusta mucho el comercio y
We like
queremos
commercial.
pedirles a ver si nos pues dan licencia
If you guys want to approve this zoning
de trabajar en eso.
so we can work on this building and get something out of it.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Do they have intentions of a particular business in there?
¿Tienen unas intenciones de algún negocio en mente?
Pues queríamos que pues se convirtiera en licor, pero si no es posible,
We
pues
wanted-
en lo que estaba antes, que ya tiene licencia, ¿verdad?
We wanted to start with, we wanted to do a liquor store, but if something like doesn't happen, then we wanted to go back to what it was before, which was a grocery store.
So why does she want to change from the grocery store to a liquor store?
Porque quiere cambiar de la tienda a la licorería.
Ah, bueno, pues porque consideramos pues que hay muchas tiendas ya de esas
We consider that there's a lot of grocery stores, Mexican grocery stores already,
y pensamos que nos iría bien mejor con una licorería, que hay hay menos.
and we thought that a liquor store would make more sense and get a better profit.
And how long have they owned the property?
¿Cuánto llevan con de dueños de la propiedad?
Ah, ya llevamos como 15 años.
About 15 years.
And just a follow-up question to that, in that 15 years, they've owned and operated
En los
a
15 años,
business
¿ustedes
there?
eran dueños y ustedes los operaban también? O?
Ah, habíamos rentado algunas veces y otras veces fuimos nosotros, también estuvimos ahí.
We were rented the place to several other people, and then sometimes we took over too. So it was renting and then having ownership again. They're doing their thing and then renting again. So back and forth between renting.
Thank you.
But it was a business in there every time.
Ah, pero eran negocios todo el tiempo?
Sí.
Yes. Any questions? Should we get? Okay.
Any other questions?
Si quiere poner su nombre y su dirección. Aquí. Y su dirección.
Val, what is the zoning of the Armory?
Yeah. ¿Está bien? Lo voy a poner
I
yo.
want to say it's R1. Let me just
It
look
is
here.
R1.
Yes, the Armory is R1. So this lighter area over here is R1, this is R2, and then there's an R3 just to the south of it.
So the Armory is actually not conforming either, correct?
It's a state national
so it
facility,
doesn't
so
Doesn't
eminent domain, they don't necessarily have to
matter.
apply, yeah.
Okay.
In the past, has there ever been any complaints about the businesses previously to this conversation?
Not that I'm aware of.
Nothing got brought up at planning commission or anything about any complaints of the businesses that have been operating out of there?
No.
I think we went to the Madison County GIS, you can see what year it was built. I mean, that's how long it's been operating as a business out of there. So I mean, it's been there for years. 47, so, I mean, if you built that, there's potential that there were houses built around it. So, just keep that in mind.
Yeah. There used to be a meat locker right next to it, correct?
No, it was the meat locker.
No,
Yes.
there was another longer building there.
Well, it could have been, but I mean, that's always been that was a meat locker when I was in the 70s. When I was a kid, it was a meat locker.
All right, have we got any other questions or further discussion here? Anybody else have anything to say? I need a planning commission report.
The Norfolk Planning Commission held a public hearing on September 16, 2025, to consider a zoning change from R2, 1 to 4 Family Residential District, to C1, Local Business District, on property addressed as 815 South First Street. The Planning Commission denied the motion to recommend approval of the request with a 1-6 vote.
All right, go ahead and close this hearing. And need a motion to consideration of ordinance number 5953, approving a zoning change from R2 to C1 on a property addressed as 815 South First Street.
I'll offer for consideration ordinance number 5953.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and second. Val, you'll leave any lead discussion on anything else we have to ask? Okay, seeing there's no discussion here, is there any other discussion from the public? Okay, short title, please.
An ordinance of the City of Norfolk, Madison County, Nebraska, amending the zoning district map of the City of Norfolk, Nebraska, providing when this ordinance shall be in full force and effect, and providing for the publication of this ordinance in pamphlet form.
All right, please vote.
Voting in the affirmative, McCarthy, Granquist, Arns, Jensen, Webb, Hildebrand, Beckman. Voting in opposition, Lengy. Ordinance number 5953 carries on first reading.
All right. No? I guess we're just going to pass it on first reading tonight and move on. On to item number 21, public hearing at the request of Aaron's Holding LLC to consider a zoning change from I-1 to R3 on a property, on properties addressed as 1408, 1410, and 1414 South Third Street. I'm open the hearing on this, and Val will lead us in discussion on this public hearing.
All right. Thank you. I've brought up the lots. This is Northwestern down here on the south, and then Third Street here on the east. 1414 is this large building that I think was an old hotel when the train was operational, and now it's an apartment. And then these two lots are also in this 1408 and 1410. They are industrial. And this used to be residential a few years ago, and that has been discontinued. But the new owner bought all three of these. And let me go to the zoning map, that'll help you. So we're talking about these three lots right here, which are industrial. It does abut R2. I believe what this owner would like to do is put a small apartment building across these two lots, so tear down this building. And then while he was at it, at least make this apartment then conforming to R3 instead of I1. And since it is being used as an apartment currently. And the owner is here also if you have any questions for him.
Okay. Any further discussion or questions? Anybody from the public have anything to state that's here? All right, Planning Commission report, please.
The Norfolk Planning Commission held a public hearing on October 7, 2025 to consider a zoning change from I-1 Light Industrial District to R3 Multiple Family Residential District on properties addressed as 1408, 1410, and 1414 South 3rd Street. The Planning Commission recommends approval of the request with a 7-0 vote.
All right, we're going to close the hearing. And that's for motion and consideration of ordinance number 5954, approving a zoning change from I-1 to R3 on properties addressed as 1408, 1410, 1414 South 3rd Street.
Your Honor, I would move for approval of ordinance number 5954.
Second.
We have a motion second. Val again will lead us on discussion. I don't think we're going to have much here because you
So
already
you have
answered
any
all the
other
questions.
questions?
Anybody have anything to say from the public that's here this evening?
Is the owner here? Can they come up and speak to their intent,
Sure.
what they want to do?
Good afternoon. I bought this apartment complex back in December. Looking at the building and looking at that building to the north there, that was at one point a duplex. It was occupational. It was occupied up to about 3 years ago when I decided to not pull for proper permits, and it was shut down, and it lost its grandfather clause when it came to operation, when it came to that. So goal today is to basically have it conforming with the 16-plex that's already down there and combine those two lots to the north there to possibly build a 6-plex and then utilize the parking within the apartments or within that land as well, because it's basically two parking stalls per a unit. And if we have to go smaller, we'll go smaller. We're just trying to put some more effort back into that location. And then also talked about with the city engineering, I need to get with them still and actually have them go down and take a look at that. But that terrace in the front there to the east, we'd like to put parking along there as well, kind of like is in front of the Mint there. So we can kind of get some of that parking off the street there. So I know especially during the winter, it's very bad down there and it's very traffic heavy. So that's our future goal on that side as well, to help out with the parking issues that's down there. Because you have two people park on both sides, it's basically a one-way street.
Currently, is there enough parking for your tenants now on site? Or, because I know it is congested down there.
It's how it was before being grandfathered in. No, that's why we want to go
Okay.
ahead and do that with that. They do park in the back there on the west side there with the Mint allowing them. There is actually I don't want to say abandoned alleyway, but there is an alleyway between 1410 and the back side, item number 177 or 777. That is actually an alleyway. So the parking is usually done back there, and usually Heath hasn't had much issues. I haven't had any issues with him with that situation there right now.
Sir, could you just state your name for the record, please?
Bryce Aarons,
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Nope, if you can, please sign in too.
I did.
Okay, you got that taken care of? All right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions?
I have a comment or maybe a question for Val. So right now, the I-1 does not require X number of stalls per apartment, correct? There's nothing requiring it?
It goes by the use, not necessarily the zoning. So residential requires 2 spaces per unit. However, I mean, it is what it is right now, and it never had parking before, so we can't necessarily force parking.
Well, but that was my second part of my question was, if it gets rezoned to R3, does that take on a new obligation for required parking?
I don't think so, because the use is technically the same. And
Okay.
it's, the parking requirement's based on the use, not necessarily the zoning.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just didn't want a consequence to come out of this that was maybe unexpected, so.
Any other questions?
Also, just a comment with regard to development of parking within the terrace. When he would be required to prepare a site plan. Council has to approve parking in the terrace, so that would come back for council consideration to allow paving of the terrace area.
Okay. Any other comments? All right, short title, please.
An ordinance of the City of Norfolk, Madison County, Nebraska, amending the zoning district map of the City of Norfolk, Nebraska, providing when this ordinance shall be in full force and effect, and providing for the publication of this ordinance in pamphlet form.
All right, please vote.
All council members voting in the affirmative, ordinance number 5954 carries on first reading.
Seeing no opposition, I'll make a motion that we suspend the rules and pass on second and third.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
All council members voting in the affirmative, ordinance number 5954 carries on second and third.
Right, that moves us on to our regular agenda this evening. On 23, consideration of ordinance number 5950, creating a paving district number 522, providing for extension of Legacy Drive and extension of North McIntosh Road, all located in the northeast quarter of Section 23, Township 24 North, Range 1 west of the 6th Principal Meridian in the city of Norfolk, Madison County, Nebraska. This ordinance will pass on first reading at the October 6, 2025 City Council meeting.
Offer for consideration ordinance number 5950.
Second.
All right, we have a motion second on second reading, so we're permitted to have discussion at this time, and that will be led by Steve.
Yeah. Yes, Mayor, thank you. Mayor and council, this is, as mentioned, this is the second reading for the creation of, we got up here the paving district. First reading was at the October 6th meeting. As a function of the conversation there, I have prepared a few comments, and then the consultants are here, and I'll introduce those as well as the developer for some additional comments. So what I've brought up here is the Meadow Ridge development. The northern part of that is currently developed. That was developed in, I think there were 11 phases. Yeah, there were 11 phases in the build-out of Meadow Ridge north of what we know as the Legacy Bend development. This is the preliminary plat that was provided, specifically showing kind of the north, what we call Meadow Ridge area, Blue Ridge area, and then the southern half of this is the Legacy Bend development. Part of Legacy Bend 7th edition is going to be tying in Legacy Drive into McIntosh Drive, which is, Val has currently got the pointer there. McIntosh Drive comes down. It is a minor collector street, and that was intended to come down through that development then to the south and ultimately connect back over into Victory Road. And so as this developed, again, dating back to about 1995 is this particular preliminary plat, and then another 11 phases, kind of starting in, look at my notes here, 11 phases. The first phase was multifamily, started December of 1995 was when that was approved. The next several phases went up through July of 2007. As a function of the housing crash, that was the July 2007 phase was the last phase for a period of time. The last two phases were approved in May of 2015 and then in July of 2017. It is my understanding, well, I guess I show this just to show kind of the intent of that area, the intent of traffic movement in that area as that area developed. This particular development does show more single-family back there along the levee area versus the multifamily. The consultants can talk a little bit to that. Because of the levee, there's a 300-foot zone in front of the levee where you can't have basements. And so that wouldn't have been allowed anyway, even though that was the way that was laid out. As we were working with the developers and the engineers, one of the reasons that we have the multifamily up along the levee there is due to that inability to go below grade there in that first 300 feet. And then you buffer, coming off Victory Road, that gets buffered with R1, R2, R3 up against your multifamily. And that's typically the way you would buffer a multifamily, kind of a planned development that's got R1, R2, R3 multifamily in there. So anyway, I provide that as a little bit of background. Randy is here tonight too, provide some more background on that, or if there's some questions probably around that. Jim's here too, probably has a little bit of background on that particular one. So I think there's another one just to kind of flip between this and probably the Legacy Bend. So here you can see the Legacy Bend phases. Got to look here. What you see here was or is the master plan for Legacy Bend. Everything that's kind of grayed out to the north would be the Meadow Ridge area, Blue Ridge area up there to the north. As Val, if you would kind of come over to Legacy Drive that runs along the back side, that is Legacy Drive, and then what she is showing maybe there with the arrow would be how McIntosh Drive would connect in. So it would connect in kind of over to a T intersection there with Legacy Drive. Following the last meeting as well, there were some questions that I took from the audience sort of after some of the official comments of the meeting. And based on a couple questions there, I thought it would be prudent to provide some more data. And so tonight with us is, we have a couple of the engineers with Olson Associates, and then as well Andrew Topin is here with the developer. I'm going to ask Shane King to come forward. Over the last week, we put out traffic counts to collect some traffic data for traffic that's exiting on Sunrise Drive onto Victory. Since that's the only exit right now out of the area, it provides a reasonable count of traffic that's running north out of the subdivision versus south out of the subdivision. And so I'll have Shane provide some comments around the data that was developed here last week.
Good evening. Shane King. I'm a traffic engineer with Olson, address 1103 Riverside Boulevard. And as was shared, yeah, basically we went, it was last Tuesday was the day that traffic was collected. We did a 13-hour count from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. at Sunrise and Victory. And I'll share just a little bit of the statistics with you, and I guess I'd be happy to answer any questions or see what else we could go from there. So in general, what we found through each of the three peak periods, the AM, midday, and PM, and then it held true to the entire 13 hours as well. Leaving, we have about 40% of traffic going north, 60% going south. So that'd be leaving on Sunrise. Give you some numbers on that too. The highest hour was the AM peak hour, which fell 7:15 to 8:15. And so to give you some numbers with that, that means there was 36 left turners, so people leaving development turning left to go north, and that put us at 44 turning right. We also, with again just this topic of the connection of streets, we also counted McIntosh and Benjamin, and for that one, again counted the same 13 hours, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. So again, we're talking a little bit different here, not north-south, we're kind of talking east-west as traffic leaves, But leaving on that street, we're in the range of kind of the 75 to 80% would be turning left, so to go west. And then a little higher through the day, 5 to 10% just going straight north-south, so going across to the college. And then that gives us a balance, again, depending on the hour you're at, around the 10%. Would be turning right or going east. Definitely, as you would look at a site plan like that, if McIntosh is connected all the way down and there is that connection, what you would see, definitely people leaving Sunrise who are right now going out and then turning left to go north. Some of them would presumably go through the development, be able to use McIntosh to get up to Benjamin and turn left there. But again, so I guess on as far as that travel pattern, the comment I would really make again would be come back to that 36 vehicles in an hour that was counted. So I'm gonna round to 30. That's one every 2 minutes. So I've probably been talking for about maybe a little over 2. So it'd be like one vehicle in that time frame. Just kind of put that into context. So my comment, I guess it'd be a pretty low volume that we'd see on both these streets, which is very typical of residential streets. So.
Well, could
Thanks,
one of the
Shane.
comments
Certainly.
that came up
Any
before was
questions
a
for Shane?
possible light, and I know this doesn't have a lot to do with this intersection, but I think it has something to do with your study. I'm assuming your study isn't comprehensive enough to know whether it would even come close to justifying a light on McIntosh and Benjamin.
Yes and no. Extremely preliminary, and yep, in short order, go out and get the count. But I can complete that study right now. It's a long ways away. So even particularly at McIntosh were you talking at McIntosh and Benjamin, or are you over at Victory?
Yeah, McIntosh and Benjamin is really
So-
the question is if there's enough traffic to sustain the stopping.
Um,
Traffic light, and with this added, if it would
maybe push it that direction further?
No, you're probably still, traffic would have to increase by about 5 times. Maybe even a little more. So, no, again, in this peak hour, again, we're looking at that, like coming out of there, 30 vehicles, 34, 28. We need to get up in the 100 plus range on that. Almost 150 is my guess for the type of facility that one is in.
One more I want to add to that is there was some discussion about going down McIntosh, and with it being a long straight road and the possibilities of obviously traffic moving along pretty quickly, stop signs or some sort of thing to control. Have you thought about that at all, of how many, every intersection, every other intersection, none at all, or what?
I don't live there or drive it, so but my comment would be none at all as far as the stop signs go. I mean, you have at least not on McIntosh. I mean, it's any of the side streets could stop coming into that. Again, I'm a traffic engineer. I'm going to hold true to some of these principles and share with you that stop signs are not meant for traffic calming devices. So what this would, so traffic calming meaning lower speeds. So what that would put you into, and some people love them, some people hate them, but either your speed bumps, a speed table, which is a little more gradual, kind of elongated bump, that type of thing. Taking the street and narrowing it a little bit. It's a 36 foot wide, stretch. So I mean, it's wide for, especially right now where you don't have anything on the west side, so it feels really open. But were you to come back and I'm not suggesting the entire duration, but someplace narrow the median a little bit, or excuse me, the curbs, come back out, or some landscape and other streetscape tree plantings to kind of get a bit of a canopy and things like that. So there's also dynamic signs, the ones that tell you how fast you're going. Those can be permanently installed or on a trailer, so you kind of do it for a while and take it away. But short, I would say, from being there and looking at it, I would agree. Somebody is probably going to complain about speeds, but I think there's other means than a stop sign, more appropriate means, I should say, to address the speeds.
Can you share the numbers again, the ones that went south and the ones that went north off of
Yeah,
Sunrise?
you bet. Just like that peak, that AM peak hour. That'd be
whatever the numbers that you shared. We
sure.
tracked
Can
what
you
went
do
south.
can you do the whole day of traffic count while you're running percentages in total?
Yeah. Let me read this one off real quick. If this is hitting what you're after, let me know if it's not. So again, during the 13 hours, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. So during that entire time, so leaving Sunrise, we had 185 turn left, 4 went straight through, and 253 turned right. So that gives you 42% turned left, 1% went through, and 57% turned and went south. So that's where I'm kind of getting that 40-60 split there.
And then what was the numbers? You just gave us percentages. Give us the numbers for McIntosh and Benjamin, please.
Yep, you betcha. McIntosh and Benjamin. I'll give you the same 13 hours, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. So we'll go the northbound, right, leaving, as we're talking about. Northbound left, 329. Northbound through, 21. Northbound right, 43. And so that gives us a percentage of 84% turn left, 5% go straight across the college, and 11% turn right.
You said the total in that 13-hour span was about how many that that entered that intersection?
Well, you're saying
The one we were just talking about, Benjamin
like
and,
everybody that goes north goes south, goes east
yeah,
goes west?
yeah.
Like total vehicles through the intersection?
yeah.
You betcha. That is, let me follow my column headings here. That's going to be about 8,600, 8,644.
Okay.
Again, that is eastbound, westbound, northbound, southbound.
Is that considered high volume, middle volume, low volume for an intersection like this?
Extremely, again, the north-south, these are very small volume legs when you're talking again, volumes of a few hundred. So we got on these over the course of that 13 hours. Yeah, that's
pretty small volume.
this low volume. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, particularly to speak to the traffic control comment, stop control, all day long, all the time. And obviously east-west, that's where we're higher. We're in the 3,000-ish about each of those directions. But again, you have a major 4-lane facility there with Benjamin. So
8,600.
So, just because you see this stuff all the time, in typical neighborhoods where you have $400,000 to $500,000 homes, what's that traffic count usually in those embedded neighborhoods and communities? What do you see for traffic counts?
well, so the volume, it's kind of tied to the volume's always tied to just number of lots. Based on data, I would say whether it's a 3-acre acreage lots and bigger homes, or you're much smaller single family. It's just the number of trips per family, basically make. Everyone's going to leave in the morning, come back in the night, essentially. So I don't have the trip generation rates with me, other than to say, again, I can only comment that I'm looking at residential type numbers, and clearly it operates acceptably under stop control. And again, and as I mentioned, when you're down looking at numbers in the 30s or 40s, you just, in perspective, there's a little spike. I'm not saying it's evenly distributed over a 60-minute AM peak period, but nonetheless, it's not everybody shows up in 5 minutes and then 55 minutes of nothing. So, I mean, there's some sort of just kind of spread out of traffic through that time. So, were you to take any of these, and again, as I mentioned, with a connection, if everybody, 100% of them started taking a different route, you're still adding one about every 2 minutes on average.
I guess I got one comment that you had made and talked about narrowing the roadway of McIntosh. I would encourage you not to go down that avenue as narrowing a road.
Well, my comment, that is a traffic calming technique. So narrower streets will bring lower speeds. I'm not saying taking away lanes, and I'm not even getting into the actual on-street parking limits, but I'm just saying that narrower streets bring lower speeds.
Shane, so that they potentially could look at that if they wanted to. There's a name for that.
Well, a chicane.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to search it, chicane, I'm not going to spell it, it's CH. Yeah, that's that technique of narrowing a roadway and kind of bringing it back out. So there's other ones too, or even introducing, again, small medians and things like that. But again, not everything is conducive to there can be physical constraints that you can't do that in certain places, but these are just all type of mechanisms.
Yeah, just to envision that, just think of when we bulb out the intersections, like downtown at Third, by the Pocket Park downtown, that one corner bulbs out. Just envision a little bit bigger bulb somewhere along a street where it bulbs out, generally from both sides. It could just be one side, but it bulbs out, kind of creates a pinch point. That pinch point reduces the speed of the traffic down that corridor. Any other questions for Shane?
Yeah, Shane, have you taken the proposed density that will be developed in the neighborhood and calculated what that would do with your existing data?
I have not yet. No, I haven't taken anything regarding additional trips. There may be others that know. I've only just kind of done the count and tried to look at some numbers and statistics, and not really done projections based on that. So others may know a little bit more. I think it's the area, though, is it about half built out, or is it?
I think the multifamily's a little more, just a hair over half built, probably 60% built. There's 3 proposed here in phase 7. I think maybe 2 more multifamily in phase 8, and then the rest would be duplex or single family, I believe. Yeah.
So where I was going with that, if we're about the halfway mark, then we'd see a double, and just to put that in a degree of magnitude.
Thanks, Shane. Andrew is here. Before I would invite Andrew to come up, just to give a little bit of background about this. It was about 2 years ago, I believe there was a citizen that came up, lives down there in the Legacy Bend area, and provided some comments relative to speeds of traffic down there, desirous of either speed tables, some stop signs. As a function of that, then the conversation came up about a dual ingress egress, with Sunrise being the only ingress egress point. And so as a function of the current status, as well as a function of continuing development, it was desirous, coming out of that conversation, that we pursue another access point in and out of that subdivision. For the 18 months following that conversation here in council, there were multiple conversations with the developer to try and get them to come back and continue their development. They admitted during that time that they really struggled with the single-family portion of the project, and had come to some realization that single-family was really outside their wheelhouse, and so they were struggling to come back. Again, we had multiple conversations over that 18 months, and we were just not able to find a path to bring the developer back. It was earlier this spring, in conversation with the developer, we said, look, let's focus on one. Up to that point, there had been several conversations about getting both McIntosh Drive in and Maple in. It was somewhere around late March, in conversation with the developer, we said, look, we need to park the conversation on Maple. Would you come back if we just focused on McIntosh Drive? Over a period of about 4 to 6 weeks, and again, in some follow-up conversation with the developer, they came back and said, as long as we're just talking McIntosh, we would be okay coming back under this phase 7, where we've got 3 additional multifamily units, and then we could create the paving districts, water districts, sewer districts, and then those 3 multifamily units and those parcels would then consume the cost of that district. And so that's what's brought us here, is a very long conversation over almost 24 months. The first 18 months of that bearing 0 fruit. And over the last 6 months, we've been able to get them here. I would say that the reason we are here tonight consuming this second reading is because we as a community asked them to come back. This is not them coming to us saying, hey, we want to do phase 7, and us going, how much juice can we get out of them? This is us basically begging for the last 24 months to get this developer back and find a path and work with us to get McIntosh Drive connected. So with that, Andrew Topin, you want to come up and answer some questions?
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me tonight and listening to this. My name is Andrew Tupin. I represent the developer for Legacy Bend. Legacy Bend really has a special place in my heart. It's one of the very first developments I worked on years ago. Since then, we've built 185-ish units, 19 houses. We've built city trails. We've built regional detention cells. When you drive down the roads, you see large open green spaces that are well maintained. I don't think anybody can really argue about how presentable the area is. I think we do a great job at maintaining them. We have a pool, we have a clubhouse for our tenants, which is not something you get a lot of these days. Those are kind of special amenities that we like to do. So I'm really proud of Legacy Bend. I was going down there the other day. There was children walking down the trails, people living in nice, safe communities. I think it's safe to say that since it's been built, hundreds, if not thousands of people have lived in those units, have had safe, affordable housing. And I think that's something that we can all, as a group, be proud of. Like Steve was saying, at the request of the city, we've decided to come back and help create a project that I think can be a successful project that will help tie Sunrise Drive, Legacy Drive to McIntosh. And we'd also like to come up here and bring even more housing with the next few apartment units and duplexes that we plan on doing. As part of this particular project, we do plan on building some more duplexes off to the east. We've recently relisted all of our single-family lots. I think we have 27 ready-to-build lots out there. We brought a new realtor in to try to stir up some fresh, excitement about the area. So we're working on that as kind of a separate thing, but also, it's all kind of tied together as the same development. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, I can surely try to answer best I can.
Well, I think what Steve was alluding to, it was based off a meeting that was had in your clubhouse at your facility with the neighborhood. Most of the people that lived on that Sunrise, I can't see the name of the streets very well, Sunrise Street there and kind of around the Maple area up in there. And I don't know if you were at the meeting, now Corey was there, I was there. And the topic of discussion was, the high density and traffic and parking and getting in and out of the neighborhood and the speed in which people are leaving and the drive, so that was the concern of the individuals that lived in that neighborhood, and that's what they were expressing. I think what Steve was talking about is then, what can we do? I think they were asking, is there a way to put Maple in? That was one of the things that were brought. Is there a way to put McIntosh in? And so I think when you talk about begging, come back, that, I don't know if it's necessarily begging, it was more to find a solution to the traffic count coming through the neighborhood and alleviate some pressure there. And I see some neighbors here tonight. I think that was the gist of the conversation. So I think that's what has got us here today, is trying to figure out what's the best. That's why Shane over here was here this evening talking about traffic counts. So I think what we're ultimately trying to do is to find a solution for the people that live there, and then ultimately try to keep your development, obviously,
Yep.
turn into a nice development, and which I'm not saying it's not a nice development, but to keep it moving along, is what we're trying to see happen also. So I'll just end with that and let the rest of the council ask questions.
Shane said that it's pretty low
Yeah.
traffic counts, so I don't think it's anything out of the ordinary. I interpreted your numbers as very low.
Right, I think they're lower, but in the circumstance of an R1 neighborhood, you are picking up a little bit, you're picking up quite a bit of R3 traffic through an R1 neighborhood. So I think that's the difference, right? And so how do we help this neighborhood and this development progress forward? I guess that's what we're here to solve this evening.
Yep.
So that's what, so I'll just, like I said, I just wanted to put that out there. Those were the discussions that were had, and I think that's why we're here this evening. So let's expand upon that and try to find a solution for us to move forward here. So,
Steve, do you think this is a solution to push less traffic past those homes? Does the information that Olson just shared tell you that less traffic will go by these homes?
It does. It's what, the counts, the distribution of the counts, pretty close to what I was expecting. I was expecting about a 40-60 split on traffic. He mentioned that 10% as you go north on McIntosh, the 10% that would be going west. I'm just a pure guess. That's probably Nucor, Nimco traffic, probably headed back over to Victory. As we, talk about the future of Maple in there, it's very, very likely that 10% load that would currently be going up McIntosh when that's tied, that 10% load would go to Maple, most likely to go north on Victory, if that's truly where they're headed. And that was, again, I really didn't have an idea what that was. Shane mentioned that from a traffic perspective, this is in the classification of very low traffic density, very low ADT, so it falls into that category of design criteria for very low traffic. I was actually surprised a little bit on the counts. I did anticipate a little bit higher count as the total average daily traffic coming out of Sunrise, but again, that was a one-day count on Tuesday. It's going to be representative data. The data's, it could vary. You know,
I'm thinking, Steve, that majority of the traffic.
Monday, Wednesdays, it could vary 10, 15% on those days. But it's low, like you said, it is low, what we would consider to be low traffic volume.
My concern is that the majority of the traffic was heading south. And so,
That 62%-ish or so headed south, or 57% headed south.
if that number was lower, then I wouldn't be so concerned, but when you're gonna add density,
Right, and so again, Maple isn't gonna necessarily help the southbound, it would put more southbound traffic on Victory. But with the single output being Sunrise, that traffic, they're not gonna have to fight necessarily with more traffic that would dump out on Maple headed south. That would conflict a little bit. It would shorten the queues for traffic coming in off Sunrise to get in and go southbound. So you know, and as the development would continue to develop with the single-family duplexes, certainly Maple's going to be a needed addition to the development at that time.
my fear is that it doesn't develop because Maple's not in. That's my fear. Is that nobody wants to build a house in that price point.
And, yeah, and we
Dealing
are
with
having
R3
conversations, you know, we didn't stall the conversation with the developer on that as we were trying to figure out how to move something forward to get a second in and out. We have continued conversations with the developer relative to Maple and the rest of that subdivision that's currently unplatted. I think Andrew mentioned you've got 23 lots or so in there that are currently platted.
27-ish.
We have been working with them, you know, is there an opportunity there for us to possibly pick up some property and maybe do something as a city to develop lots that we could sell off to small builders? It's an opportunity. Is it the right opportunity and the right time? I don't have an answer for that, but it is a potential opportunity that we're exploring and that we would be bringing back to council for more conversation. You know, we are sort of running out of developable property within the city boundaries. There is, you know, as we look in the western side, northwest side, we've got a couple developers over there that are working. As we look on the east side of the community, we have the Kelby Herman development on East Benjamin. And so you know, just in terms of where might we, if we're interested in some opportunity for us to think about, and there's been conversation in the TIF subcommittee about some other communities that have tackled something similar to this on their own. So anyway, I think in summary, we're still having those conversations. We're still going to be bringing the conversation around this to council for consideration, I think at some point, but right now, we're just focused on McIntosh. Anything else for Andrew? Thanks.
Thank you.
Right, anybody else here have anything they want to come forward and talk about?
Well, first off, I just want to thank Steve for that. I was the one that brought up the question about traffic count, so I appreciate you. And I think you told me you thought it would be about 50-50, so you weren't too far off. Just want to share with you, my wife has Thursdays off, so I took her out for lunch last Thursday. And she humored me, and we went for a little drive. And we drove down Victory Road, went down Legacy Bend. Got in and out of there, really didn't have any concerns, very little traffic. It was probably about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so I didn't really see an influx of traffic. So we exited back out onto Victory Road, and I went back into Blue Stem Circle and cut across into Meadow Ridge and went down McIntosh Road. And we got to McIntosh Road. I counted the houses going in on Legacy Bend. There's about 10 homes that are affected by that road that face that traffic. And it's almost identical on McIntosh Road. There's 10 homes, and a lot of them are duplexes, and the garages, they back out onto McIntosh. When we got to McIntosh and Benjamin, and granted it was 1 o'clock, so a lot of the kids are coming back to college, but we waited 8 to 10 minutes at that intersection. We were 12 deep. So that would be my concern about putting that traffic out there. You already have a congestion problem with the apartments there, and then you're gonna build 3 more units, and then 42% of that traffic's probably gonna go that way. So I think it's kind of like I said before, I really feel like this Legacy Bend, it's a nice looking development, but they have to be standing on their own. I feel that's why Phase 7 was when this connection was made, because Legacy Bend would be well established by then. They'd have 2 outlets onto Victory Road, and then the 2 neighborhoods would join. Randy, I was just curious, you said before that Phase 2B and C were, that's when they were supposed to get the money for Maple?
That's when those Phase 2B and 2C were putting the houses in along what would be
So those
Maple
haven't been
Avenue.
activated yet? They haven't got that money?
That hasn't been platted yet, and there's no...
Okay, I was just curious about that, because I thought that Phase 2 had already been approved.
There's a TIF bond out there for Phase 2. It's what we call a draw bond. And as the TIFable costs are incurred, the amount of that bond increases. So as additional infrastructure is put in, that bond would increase in value.
That would activate it. And I like to use a knowledge year scenario just so you guys can understand my line of thinking. It just takes all the dark area out, but just humor me for a minute. But let's say Corey Hildebrand and Corey Grandquist are next door neighbors. And Corey puts in a swimming pool, and the design might not have been the best, and the fill shutoff valve's not working the best, and his pool's overfilling. So his solution is to dig a little ditch over into Corey Grandquist's property, and that solves his problem. In my opinion, that's what you guys are doing with this. You're moving the problem of this development into another area that hasn't done anything to deserve that. And according to the expert, these traffic counts in Legacy Bend aren't that bad. I'm still frustrated why you wouldn't push to put Maple through, but I guess that's all I have to say. I think, like I said before, I think you guys are just moving the problem, you're not solving it, and it could almost compound it. So, thank you.
Okay, Steve C. High again. I live in Meadow Ridge area, and today I went down into Legacy Bend. I know I said this at the last city council meeting, and I'll reiterate. If you push Legacy or McIntosh South, hook it up. As many older people that are living in Meadow Ridge, for God's sakes, do something to slow the traffic down. It's crazy. It can be crazy. I stopped in the office at down at Legacy Bend today, and they said their apartment buildings, they're 96 to 100% full. And I told the mayor I wouldn't get upset at this meeting. I'm not going to. Basically just informational. But I'm guessing in those apartments down there, there's a lot of college kids live down there, and if you don't slow that traffic down on McIntosh going north, there's going to be some good accidents. These older people that are used to pulling out on McIntosh. There are, I counted them today, there are 28 realtor signs down there on land that's available, the lots are for sale. And I called the realtor last week, and it's online, you can look it up online too. They're anywhere from $50,000 to $65,000 a lot. But a good thing that he told me was that the lot, each lot, even though they're $50,000 to $65,000, there is no minimum price of a house. There's no minimum price to be spent on a house for the lot, which is good. And but basically, I just want that traffic to slow down somehow, whether it be speed bump, stop signs as you're going up McIntosh, whatever. Because I don't want to, I have an 83-year-old neighbor, and I don't want her to get T-boned sometime or something. So how you tie all that information together, I don't know. I'm not a perfect speaker, but, and I know they want to build more apartments, not a problem. But yeah, just see if you guys can slow that down a little bit. If it'll get built, and I hope it does, but just have it slow down a little bit. Thank you.
Jim McKenzie. I guess my frustration is related to not completing what was called for under the Phase 2, which was approved, at least from what I'm able to tell, on October 15th of 2018. So that's 7 years ago that was approved for Phase 2. And in Phase 2, there's a section, Exhibit 4, under traffic flow, street layouts, and street grades. And Phase 2 included, I realize there's a bunch of sub-phases, but this was the approval of the entire Phase 2. And it included another exit east to Victory Road connecting to Maple. And I'll read this from the actual redevelopment agreement. Under traffic flow, street layouts, and street grades, it says, the CDA and developer anticipate Phase 2 will increase traffic to and from the Phase 2 project site. There will be additional traffic from residents traveling to and from the apartments and residences. As part of Phase 2, the redeveloper will construct internal roadways to address the increase in traffic and the accessibility of the private improvements. The improvements for Phase 2 will address any traffic and street infrastructure concerns that would otherwise be created by Phase 2. Phase 2 was approved, from what I'm able to tell, 6 years ago, October 15th of 2018. It looks to me like we're allowing the developer to cherry pick what parts of the redevelopment agreement they want to complete and maximize the amount of TIF and revenue per dollar invested. without concern for the residents that live there, or the residents that are gonna be impacted if you go up on McIntosh. If you approve this, in my mind, and the accompanying TIF that's gonna come along with it, you're rewarding the developer for ignoring their initial commitments under phase 2. I don't think that's appropriate for the citizens that live there or the community. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Deb Dreher. Me and my husband live out in Legacy Bend. We love the area. The reason we moved there is because we loved how it was a community. There's a walking trail around it. There's a community pool, clubhouse, fitness center. However, no one has mentioned the safety issue of having one entrance and one exit, at least tonight. I know it's been talked about at other meetings, but, and I don't think Maple is really going to help that much. I mean, Sunrise and Maple are practically side by side. And believe me, when I leave at 8 in the morning, I get behind the one who's turning left and I want to turn right. So let's just say that. I don't know about the traffic numbers, but I just know my personal feeling, living out there, seeing the traffic, it's fast, there's a lot of traffic. The numbers, I don't know. I know numbers don't lie, but they don't correlate with my personal experience living out there. Yes, there was a stop sign put out there, which has helped, but me and my husband walk that trail every night, and we see people just go through that stop sign like it doesn't even exist. They know there's no one out there, you know, there's no police officers out there ever doing anything with the stop sign, so they just blow right through it. So personally, I would rather it go out to McIntosh. Yes, that might affect some people there, but we are also people in Sunrise that are being affected by it just having one entrance and one exit point. There needs to be another one, and I don't think Maple is going to help at all. Thank you.
Well, I got a question for you though, because you were in the meeting that evening when we talked and when they had the
Yes.
developer there. I think we were talking at the meeting though about the Maple and McIntosh.
Sure.
Like working with both of those, and then the conversation came up about the stop sign.
Yep.
And they were able to do that right away.
Yep.
And then we talked about maybe some speed bumps on Sunrise Drive, and I don't think the neighbors wanted that, right? I think there was a conflict about maybe putting in speed bumps and living on
Yep.
that street, and
Yeah.
if I remember right.
Right, I think the stop sign option is the one that was kind of decided, like, we can do that right now, that's not gonna cost anything, it's not gonna, so they did do that, which was
Right.
great. And we would also, I'm glad the developer is here, we would love to see it developed, like, that's what we want to see more homes, we're in a single-family home, we want to see more homes, more apartments, like, that's our desire for buying a home out there, and like someone said, they're $400,000 to $500,000 homes we're living in. But there's also a lot of children. He spoke about old people. There's also a lot of young people that live on Sunset, and we also need to be aware of that for safety.
Deb, from one comment that was made earlier, is that stop signs, putting stop signs up on McIntosh or not. When we put stop signs up on Sunrise, I believe we put 2 of them up at 2 different intersections, right?
Correct.
Did they help? Did they get traffic slowed down when we only have the one entrance and exit?
They did help for a while, but like I said, no one is enforcing those stop signs, so now, like I said,
So enforcement and education is what we need, maybe again on Sunrise, but enforcement and education would also be desired on McIntosh.
Correct. I'm not putting down the police. Please don't think
No,
that I am. It's just that when you know it's not going to be enforced and you're a young college student, you're just blowing right by it. So, but it did help for a while. I'm not going to lie.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I, just a couple of comments there. I think her comments kind of support Shane's comment. stop signs are about intersection control, not speed control. I think as we get the developer back on site, we do have a planned layout for speed tables in there, and I think that's something we can consider as a function of Phase 7 is implementing those speed tables. I think we envisioned 2 or 3 speed tables there on Legacy Drive, and that's a speed control mechanism that would certainly slow the traffic down. And I think looking to the north on McIntosh Drive, I think we could look at 2 of them up in that area as well.
Yes, go ahead.
Good evening.
Evening.
David Jansma. One thing that comes to mind was when this was brought up, maybe a year and a half ago, that there were concerns a fire truck couldn't even get down that because parking on both sides. How could the development not have all this planned out? How can they plan for a development this size and not have entry and exits? I disagree. I think stop signs are a deterrent if they're enforced. And they need to be enforced. And they need to be held accountable if they're not adhering to it. But this was brought up before, and they should have been held to the carpet to complete the entry and exits suitable for the people that live there. And I think they need to be held accountable for it. And if you're talking speed tables, speed bumps, whatever, I still say a sign and you enforce it is better. Flashing crosswalks, anything to slow them down. And the only disadvantage of putting your speed table in is the college kids will be in somebody's front yard when they try and jump it. Because they're gonna do it. Because they're not gonna know they're there. Thank you.
Thank you. It's similar to what I had just gotten off council when this was going on, but when it was Bluff Street, you were looking at putting traffic onto Bluff, and then you moved traffic from Bluff over to both Bluff and Paswalk. I know 275 is over there, so I think people hit 275, so it's not quite the amount of traffic. What kind of feedback did you get with that? For the people that live, I know my mom lives on Bluff, she doesn't.
We still annually get requests for speed tables over there.
Is that because Paswalk is now taking?
Most recently, we installed the three-way stop, four-way stop down at Ferguson and Bluff, I think it is. But there's still requests. We're looking at potentially implementing those. I'd say over the last 2 years, we've had requests for speed tables on Bluff, speed tables on Paswalk, as well as speed tables on Madison between 13th and 7th. We get a lot of the same conversation, a lot of traffic trying to get over to the schools. They come off 81 and they go east on Madison at a fairly high rate of speed. So those are areas that we've been looking at and considering. And again,
well, I guess, Steve, what I'm asking here is, initially you guys talked about Bluff. It was just gonna be Bluff.
Yes.
And then you went and did Bluff and Paswalk.
Then we came
So
back
what
and
was the
tied-
thought process there of leaving that development? What made you do
Right,
both?
originally Paswalk wasn't gonna be tied in. Paswalk was tied in as a function of a secondary thought to that whole area. Some land was purchased from the landowner there to the northeast. And then Paswalk was tied in. But Bluff was the original intent of that North Park subdivision. Part of the reason that we're considering the speed tables in that location is because that's also part of our master trail system. And right now, people that are using the trails, they get off the trail behind Memorial Park on Logan, and then they're just walking down the street on Bluff. And so, I've personally been out there and observed, 2, 3 people with strollers going down Bluff and traffic zooming by them, so.
I don't want to interrupt you, but just to get to the bulk of the question. you went from Bluff to Paswalk, and then so you had both Paswalk and Bluff taking traffic in and out of that development going in the same direction. It's essentially what we're talking about here with Sunrise and Maple, two ins and out, similar. You're going to tie up on Logan, regardless, and go out onto Paswalk. So it was moving traffic that way. Is there been a significant change in complaints because of the fact that it's both Bluff and Paswalk versus just being Bluff? It seems very similar, except for the fact that you've got 275 and here it's a little bit different I'm sure a lot more people go and hit Omaha Avenue than they do go on to Bluff and Paswalk. So it's, for traffic count wise, but the problem presented itself in a similar way. And the solution was to do that.
I'd say to answer your question, I think obviously Paswalk provides a secondary route out to the east over to Logan, and then whether they're probably going to Paswalk Paswalk eventually. But I would say it did remove traffic off of Bluff.
Okay, so then what I'm getting at now is you have a development, similar development, R3, R2, R1, and then commercial in there also. But you've got one means of egress one way, which gets onto a major corridor with Omaha Avenue, and then kind of going into your neighborhood areas, which I would say would be more like I guess in this situation, I guess it's really not, because it's a Victory Road, but you're moving that traffic, two more exits out of there. So you've got three exits out of a high-density area. And it seems to not get a whole lot of complaints now that they're all in and done and the traffic moves fairly well. Am I right with that?
Mm-hmm.
Because I used to live right there, and I don't hear from the neighbors that live there that still know me. They don't mention, I know they were extremely concerned when it initially opened up, but I don't hear much about it now. So I'm just, what I'm getting at is.
I don't get a volume concern, what I hear is the speed concerns.
But the point is, all that happened at once. So development went in, the means of egress were there, traffic's moving in and out. We're here, we're building and the density's increasing with the residents and the building, but we only have one means of egress. So where we had two, we switched it to three to fix the problem. So now we have one. I feel like we almost need to switch it to three, like that development, to provide a solution to this problem. So now tonight, we're talking about one means of egress, which make it two, because you've got, but is there some way that we can collaborate and work together? Because I feel like that would move it forward in a better, by figuring out what to do with Maple. And I know that the people that live there maybe are shaking their heads like Maple's not a big deal, but I think what it does do is when you're leaving that other development I was talking about with Bluff and Paswalk, you can make a decision on going down Bluff, and most people then go to Paswalk and out, I would assume. And, but again, if traffic's moving slow, you can go down Bluff. So you can take two different means of getting in and out of that neighborhood, and then if you want to get out of there real quick, you just head to Omaha Avenue. Where I would think with this, if it's me, I'm living there, I'm probably not going north to Benjamin. Because just what Dale was saying, you're going to sit there forever. So you're going to continue to go out to, maybe the traffic counts don't state that, but if I'm living there, I'm going to not go wait on Benjamin Avenue until a stoplight gets put in there someday. And that's probably what we're all talking about. So I'm going to head out, I'm going to take Sunrise, and I'm going to get on Victory. I'm going to go to college that way, I'm going to head out to Newcorp, I'm going to head south and head out to Omaha Avenue that way. So this would allow you to have two means to choose from and an exit onto Benjamin. So I don't know. I'm thinking out loud here. I'm putting a lot out there, but trying to get this thing, because we have a problem here and we need to find a solution.
Right.
We're just going to create more problems if we don't find a solution. So,
I think that's where we obviously got to go. This is step one, right? I think Dale brings up a good point, even though I don't necessarily like being in this scenario, but easy to pick on when we're in that ward too, right, Dale? All three of us. But we have to start here. It's always been part of mine to put in Maple at the same time also. That's not what's in front of us right now, but I think that is something that we cannot let down. We have to keep the foot on the pedal, and and find a way that Maple goes in, because I think it's going to alleviate some of that of going to McIntosh. 40% is gonna go there, but that number's gonna increase as you add more apartments.
But
I think it's gonna happen,
Yeah,
but we
but-
have to,
yeah,
we
sorry.
have to focus on this one that's in front of us, and then us as a council or a community have to focus on, let's get Maple done, and what's that entail? Does that entail the city having some ownership in it, whether that's streets, property, whatever, and that's a bigger discussion, because it's a lot of money. But no doubt, I think Maple needs to get in sooner than later, but we gotta get this one going first.
And I'm gonna say I will support Maple going in before I'll support McIntosh going in. Because I'm with Dale, and my brother lives right there, and I've been there when those traffic is up like that. And I can't support that. I would take Maple first, and then McIntosh is a second, but I won't take McIntosh first, and that's where I'm at.
I get it, Sue, I
But is it
really
the
do.
chicken
And I
or
wish
the-
they
is
were
the
both
chicken or the
going
egg
at the
here?
same
You know what I
damn
mean?
time, I really do.
It's the chicken or the egg, which one do you want to do first?
So, I got a question for Sue. So if Maple was in, then you would be in favor of this?
I would support it
Okay, I guess, yeah, I'm not quite understanding that.
With Bluff and Paswalk, I'm with what Shane is saying, because I don't believe either that somebody's gonna go all the way north. But now if that's the only alternative they have, they may take that to get rid of, oh, somebody's sitting there and I'm making a left turn, I wanna go right. I would say if you got two right there, you're gonna have the opportunity to say, you know what, the people that are usually taking Sunrise are gonna turn right. So we wanna turn left, so let's take the other one. I just think it's another alternative.
See, and I guess my thought is, those exits are so close together that I don't know if they really benefit that neighborhood. They might help with traffic counts, but I don't know if they benefit. I agree back to that safety part of it. I like the idea that fire, police can get into that neighborhood a lot quicker if they can come in off Benjamin. 2 exits makes this development way more appealing than just one heading out to the east. The very first apartments that were built, that's phase 1, if that included a route that went straight north up to Benjamin, we would have approved it probably hands down. So now that more apartments are being built, why do we not want it to go up there? I don't understand the logic between not wanting to connect it there and having 2, which are probably a block apart, going east. Now, I would be in favor of Maple also getting put in, but I don't think that should hinder this one going in.
Seth?
I'll agree to disagree.
We got Seth here, let's see what he's got to say.
All right, Seth Lang Olson. I want to talk to you guys about this development first of all, okay? So we're looking at, if you look at how traffic functions correctly, it's going to go like water does, okay? It finds the path of least resistance right now. And until you get additional developments on Maple, you're not going to have that traffic that's going to go up that way. Does that make sense?
I take a country road before I take a city road right now.
Okay, so let's say Country Road, okay. Let's say we go a sacrificial, like, you know, some discussions have been with asphalt, gravel, possibly for Maple. There's additional costs that come with that when you have to maintain those roads, okay? If that road, for instance, let's say it's gravel, and we get a big rain, you know, what happens when we have gravel roads that get big rains? They get muddy, right?
I live on a gravel road.
And that's what I'm saying, does it get muddy?
No, I have the city to take care of it for me every day.
So that's an additional maintenance cost for it then, you know? That's an additional maintenance cost, right? Let's say we do sacrificial asphalt. You know, if let's say we put 3 inches of asphalt on top of that thing's gonna crumble within a couple months, depending on how much traffic you have over the top of it, and you're gonna be back to basically having mud there, okay? And not a road. We need to look at this as how we develop this, how that traffic is going through there, okay? The amount of traffic that's coming down to Sunrise, yes, it is a small amount for the counts. Now, we have people here that live here that say they aren't necessarily concerned with that traffic. Do I agree with you that, you know, one entrance to a development is probably an emergency thing? Yes, it is. But we are trying to get a second entrance here. That's what we're trying to pass tonight, to figure out what we can do to get a second entrance. McIntosh, I've counted the driveways on that road. There's probably about 5 or 6 driveways that face McIntosh. And people said there's about, what, 20 houses that abut that property, right, or abut that street? So you're looking at, what, a quarter, yeah, a little less than a quarter of the houses that go out onto the road, correct? So what are we looking at here, guys? We're looking at trying to find an additional entrance to this area. The developer has came up here and said they're willing to work with the city to provide an additional entrance right now. Okay? That's what we need to look at tonight. Thank you.
Seth alluded there to some of the conversations that we are exploring. And so we are exploring the possibility, as, you know, looking forward of, you know, could Maple be gravel? Could Maple be a blotter road? Could we do a sacrificial asphalt road on there that might get us down the road 2, 3, 4 years until, you know, something bigger and more permanent comes to play? But I mean, those are just some of the conversations that are taking place back there as we're exploring some possibility there around Maple. Obviously, the conversation of potentially the city purchasing that to do some sort of development is another conversation. But we are and will continue to have those conversations as we go forward.
Mr. Mayor, with this conversation, I ask that we call for a vote.
Okay. Short title, please.
An ordinance creating paving district number 522 in the city of Norfolk, Nebraska, ordering the construction of street improvements therein, and ordering the publication of this ordinance in pamphlet form.
All right, please vote.
Voting in the affirmative, McCarthy, Granquist, Arns, Langy, Hildebrand. Voting in opposition, Jensen, Webb, Beckman. Ordinance number 5950 carries on second reading only.
All right, that moves us on to item number 24, consideration of ordinance 5951, creating a water extension district number 133, which provides for an extension of the water main on Legacy Drive and proposed connection of North McIntosh Road, all locations in the northwest quarter of Section 23, Township 24 North, Range 1 west of the 6th Principal Meridian in the city of Norfolk, Madison County, Nebraska. This ordinance passed on first reading at the October 6, 2025 City Council meeting.
I'll make a motion for consideration of ordinance number 5951.
Second.
Motion second. Steve, again, you'll be leading discussion on this.
Mayor, Council, this is the underlying water extension district that would be constructed prior to the paving district number 522. Primarily, this is extending the water up Legacy Drive. The water main is already in for the McIntosh Drive connection. There would be some services added to the McIntosh Drive portion, but the majority of this is for the extension of Legacy Drive. I'd answer any questions.
Any questions for Steve? All right, we're in discussion. Seeing none from the council. Any questions from any of the community leaders out here? Community members? All right. Seeing none. Short title, please.
An ordinance creating water district number 133 in the city of Norfolk, Nebraska, establishing the outer boundaries of the district, designating the size, location, and terminal points, referring to the plans, specifications, and engineer's estimate in connection therewith, and to provide when this ordinance shall be in full force and effect, and to provide for publication of this ordinance.
Please vote.
Voting in the affirmative, McCarthy, Grandquist, Arns, Lengy, Hildebrand. Voting in opposition, Jensen, Webb, Beckman. Ordinance number 5951 carries on second reading only.
All right, on to item number 25, consideration of ordinance number 5952, creating the sanitary sewer extension district number 259, which provides for an extension of the sanitary sewer main on Legacy Drive and proposed connection of North McIntosh Road, all located in the northwest quarter of Section 23, Township 24 North, Range 1 West of the 6th Principal Median in the city of Norfolk, Nebraska County, Nebraska. This ordinance passed on first reading at the October 6, 2025 City Council meeting.
I'll offer for consideration ordinance number 5952.
Second.
Discussion? Discussion from the public? All right, seeing none, please vote.
Short title.
Or, I'm sorry, short title, please.
An ordinance creating sanitary sewer extension district number 259 in the city of Norfolk, Nebraska, establishing the outer boundary of the district, designating the size, location, and terminal points, referring to the plans, specifications, and engineer's estimate in connection therewith, and to provide when this ordinance shall be in full force and effect, and to provide for publication of this ordinance.
Now vote.
Voting in the affirmative, McCarthy, Grandquist, Arns, Lengy, Hildebrand. Voting in opposition, Jensen, Webb, Beckman. Ordinance number 5952 carries on second reading only.
Right, on to item number 26, consideration of approval of change order number 2 with John T. Jones Construction Company for the water pollution control plant improvements grit facility, resulting in a net increase of $129,317.
Make a motion for consideration of approval of change order number 2.
Second, all right. Motion second. Discussion, looks like Rob will be doing this here.
Mayor, Council, Rob Hunley, wastewater superintendent. Tonight I'm asking for approval of change order number 2 for the plant improvements of the grit facility project with JT Jones for $129,317. This change order is owner requested and contains the following items. Number 1 is equipment pad rebar for $4,780. Current design did not have rebar in our big equipment pads. This will just add a higher quality pad for what we're doing. There's 8 total pads altogether, new core steel. Number 2 is in our aeration control building. There's some piping for $6,621. This is adding valves for better design control. Number 3 is a 12-inch CMP relocation and traffic rated inlet for $20,250. This is a design change for the driveway entrance to the Overland Waste Building. Just kind of makes it a little better for us to get into there. The last item is to add an additional 6-inch wasting line for $97,666. This is adding a second waste line from our SBR to the thickener, adding redundancy to the system. Also having to bore under 2 high-pressure gas lines. This price was negotiated down from $147,000 to $97,666. And this project, we were hoping to reuse the wasting line that we had there. It is cast, it is full of struvite, which is stuff that grows on the side of the pipe. So to have the 2 lines run underneath again, because we have that 2 high-pressure gas lines that run right through the middle of the plant. They're gonna be boring one in, might as well be boring the other one right next to it. So, like I said, we did have some negotiations with JT Jones. I'm gonna provide some labor for this, so there's some savings there. There's also, just FYI, there was an 8-inch line as we had to move the building that we were doing in-house. Originally was quoted at $88,000. We can do it with Chad's help and his crew and our whole, we can get about $6,000. So there's a huge savings there as well. And staff gets some great experience putting that in. So I guess what I'm asking for is to approve this change order. Any questions over those items?
I guess I want to say thank you, Rob, for being able to save the city some money.
Yeah,
It's good to hear that.
We're trying to do our best, and we just want good quality out there. This is a huge project, a lot of magnitude to it. We're about half through. If you guys have been out by there, we got the precast is up now. We got more holes dug out there. We got more stuff going on. It's kind of crazy out there right now, but it's really starting to come together, and want to get this done before winter hits in and get moving forward with it. So, any questions?
Thanks, Rob. I think that's,
Okay, cool.
unless there's any more questions.
Thanks for your help too, Chad.
Oh, yeah, Chad is sitting there. Thanks, Chad. Yeah. You're blending in. Any other questions for Rob? Anybody from the public, any questions? All right. We've got a motion, a second, we're in discussion. We can probably go to vote. Everybody vote? Everybody voted?
Yeah.
There we went.
All council members voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
All right, on to item number 27. Rob, you might as well stay there. Consideration of approval to award a contract for the emergency replacement of the SBR 16-inch air pipe, the amount of $930,000.
I'll make a motion for consideration of approval.
Second.
We have a motion second with discussion. Rob will be leading this
You
again.
bet. So on July 6, a large hole was detected in the north SBR underground air line, the 16-inch line. This pipe was excavated by staff, and a temporary patch was placed on several leaks, and about 30 foot of the pipe was encased in concrete due to deterioration of the pipe wall. This kept us up and running. The remaining pipe is in poor condition and is over 30 years old and was in the CIP for replacement in the next 2 years. The airline piping is critical to plant operations for biological treatment. On October 13th, 2025, one bid was received from W. Dinger LLC. The engineering estimate for this project ranged from $1 million to $1.5 million depending on selected options. WPC staff has worked with Olson's Engineering to identify potential cost savings. Staff recommends approval of the contract with W. Dinger LLC for the emergency replacement of the SBR 16-inch airline.
This was in the CIP when?
In 2 years from now, going forward. So they kind of sped up a little bit. The original engineer estimate, because there's a lot of different options on this, and we kind of narrowed it down, was about 1.6 to 1.4. We came up with some other options of being able to do this a different way. We're gonna run part of the airline over the top of the SBR, so we don't have it underground, and using some different material. So, so that being said, then they changed, came down the engineer estimate to that 1 million to 1.5. Mr. Ordinger came in at $930,000. He can get the work going right away. I had conversations with him today. Should see completion within 30 days. So, on award. So this is very critical to our operation. We can't run without it. I think it's a good repair. We'll be able to stay up and running. That's the other piece of it, to dig this up and replace it. We have to run bypass on top. We've come up with a way to do it and stay running through the whole process. We'll have to be down for a couple hours to flip some fittings over and go. So, it's been great great work to get this going. Anyway, that's what I got going. Any other questions about it?
Rob, I might have missed it, and I knew you said it, but
Sure.
they're able to get going right away?
Right away.
And the timeline for completion?
So, had
And
some
granted, I know we're
conversations,
talking weather.
with Mr. Wardinger. The pipe can be here within a week and a half. He's planning on, of approval tonight. Porter's already out there doing some work, excavating what we need to excavate, get the pipe welded, get it underground, and continue on from there. That's the big thing, get that in before we get into some colder weather, and he's estimating to be done within 30 days.
Okay.
Huge to get this done.
Huge. Just a couple notes there. If you've been out there, I think most of you have been out to the wastewater treatment plant, and when you look over to what Rob refers to as the SBRs, our sequencing batch reactors, you'll see these big green pipes running around, anywhere from probably 8-10 inches to 24 inches. Those pipes are the above-ground portion that carry this high compressed air around the system. If you try to touch those, you might be able to put your hand on one of those green pipes for 5 seconds. They're extremely hot due to the pressure and volume of air that's moving through those. This is one piece of our system that is not redundant. This is also a primary treatment system. We blow, there's diffusers down in those tanks. I can't remember the exact number, 800-900 diffusers per tank. So there's somewhere around, how many?
884.
884. So there's around 3,600 diffusers in there. They're basically, if you think of those things you see in a fish tank where air is bubbling out of them, they're those things about 3 feet long, circular in diameter. And so that is a primary treatment method, blowing oxygen in there to provide oxygen for the bugs to grow and consume the wastewater or treat the wastewater. So it is an extremely important piece of the system, and that is why we have structured this as an emergency repair.
Thanks, Rob.
Any other questions for me on work?
Any questions for Rob? Any questions from the public? All right, seeing them, please vote.
All council members voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
We are adjourned at 7:21.